I want people to see that injustice was done and that it can be corrected. It just has to be in the right hands. Just people need to hear the story.
The truth.
We'll find it as we investigate deep into the past.
We're digital journalists. We investigate stories together.
This time, we're looking into a past crime, while Sonny Baradia's legal team prepares for his uncertain future.
With a last-ditch court motion to clear his name.
Sonny was found guilty, life in prison, after a sex assault in South Georgia. But new DNA evidence connects someone else to the crime, the man who testified against him.
Sonny's lawyers are fighting to have that evidence heard in court for the first time with a Hail Mary motion called habeas corpus.
This is the last real opportunity to do anything about a wrongful conviction.
The first time I heard about Sonny Baradia's case, I was pretty skeptical, but the more that I looked, the more that the facts just didn't add up. How could a man spend the rest of his life in prison when there's DNA evidence connecting another man to the crime?
There must be a reason why a jury still hasn't heard about this DNA evidence. We started reaching out to everybody involved. For the past 16 years, Sonny's been in jail, barred from telling his side of the story to reporters. So, when we finally got a chance to hear from him, we asked Sonny to start at the beginning.
I grew up in DeKalb County, mainly Stone Mountain. I had a pretty good upbringing. It's like my parents, nobody in my family ever got in any trouble or anything, and I've just been the first one. And I guess I've always, kind of tend to be naive at times. I was 26. I was starting to go to Fry before all this happened. I just actually just enrolled everything, got the paperwork the day all this happened.
One of Sonny's friends implicated him, but Sonny told us that he was in Metro Atlanta that day. He even had an alibi in court claiming that he was more than 270 miles away from Thunderbolt, Georgia. In 2001, a young teacher walked into her apartment after church and found a stranger standing inside the living room. In the victim's court testimony, she described a horrific attack. She said he put a blindfold around her eyes, she was sexually assaulted, and her things were stolen. She thought he would kill her.
Court records show 2 men were initially charged, Sandeep Sonny Baradia and Sterling Flint. He's the friend that said Sonny was guilty after police discovered the victim's stolen items at Sterling's friend's house. Sterling blamed Sonny. That's what led to Sonny's arrest. According to a court transcript, just before the trial, Sterling's charge was lessened when he struck a deal with the state and testified against Sonny.
A decade later, new DNA evidence was found on a pair of gloves. The DNA on those gloves had no traces to Sonny. Instead, it was a match to Sterling Flint, the same man who testified against him.
Nothing ties my client to this case forensically. The person testifying against him as the state's key witness was the only person whose DNA was present at the scene. If the jury knew now what we all know now, I think there's no question they would not have convicted him.
Despite this evidence, we learned that Sonny could have avoided a life sentence a long time ago.
He had been given an offer to settle the case, to enter a guilty plea. Had he pled guilty, he would have spent 10 more months in prison. He said, no, I can't do that. I didn't do this crime.
You would be out if you had taken a plea deal.
Yes.
Why didn't you take that plea deal?
I didn't take the plea deal because the thing was I'd be saying I did something when I didn't do it. I remember one of my attorneys in the past years ago, do I want the DNA test? Because if it gets tested showing it's me, that's finally on the coffin. I was innocent. And when he got the DNA, the empirical proof is you're right. I'm just hoping that somebody acts on evidence. I just want the truth to come out. I'm not the person.
I want to believe him. I want to believe that he is innocent and he's telling the truth. But then I have to wonder, why wasn't the DNA evidence mentioned during the first trial?
I don't want to believe Sonny is telling the truth because I don't want to believe that somebody, any of us, could spend the rest of their life in jail for something that they didn't do. Could Sonny really spend life in prison without the evidence ever being seen?
We'll keep investigating until we can share the answers on our next episode.